If you're looking to take your home or business to the next level, then RM Contractors and Custom Drywall can assist you. RM specializes in new residential turnkey, new commercial turnkey, home and office remodeling. Call them for free estimates. Serving all of South Florida, licensed and insured. Call Ray or Mike, 305-345-3649. You work hard to create the perfect atmosphere. You dream it, we'll build it. RM Contractors and Custom Drywall, 305-345-3649 or Instagram at RMC Fisher Island.
There's just one place to get our lowest payment on the new 2024 Acura ZDX, $299 a month. It's the Season of Performance event at Acura of Pembroke Pines, #1 in the USA.
All right, we are in. It is the Squared Circle Digest AEW Dynamite recap show. If you're watching us on X, on Twitch, on the Stanley Media House Network Facebook page, or if you're watching us on the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel, please hit that like button, hit the share, subscribe. And AEW Dynamite tonight, it was a very good show. A very good show. It started off, it started off, I thought it was going to be a little bit weird because the way the interaction was, Ospreay comes out, they bring out Omega, Ospreay's like, the Callis family is blocking him from getting to Moxley. He knows he needs to get to Moxley, and he can't do it on his own. Kenny Omega was like, no, I'm not having this. He brings up Forbidden Door, talks about what Will Ospreay did to him at Forbidden Door, stabbing him in the head with a screwdriver, the same thing that Don Callis did. He sees him the same way as Don Callis, and he tells him no, there's no way. Then they go to get a little bit more. Don Callis' music hits, and Don Callis comes out to talk. Kenny Omega doesn't give him time to talk. He starts charging at him, and this is where everything escalated for everyone on AEW Dynamite, including the Knoxville crowd. So then they're beating up on Kenny Omega. It's Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita. They are taking out Omega, beating him down. Then Will Ospreay decides to get involved. They start fighting out through the crowd. They're fighting out into the concessions area, the merchandise area. And finally, here comes Cage and Archer. And they're beating down. It's been a while. They're beating it down. The whole segment lasts 17 minutes. And about 15 minutes of it is them fighting throughout the crowd and into the stands. At one point, finally, they get together. They suplex Archer through a table. Then they start working their way back in. Ospreay gets up the wall to the second level deck. Omega climbs a little a pole that's there, a structure that they've put there. He climbs up to that. Both of them do backflips, take out the Callis family. The Callis family finally retreats back over to Don Callis. Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay climb back up the structure, and Kenny Omega says, Grand Slam Australia, let's make it Ospreay and Omega. Ospreay and Omega unite as one to take on Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita. So he issues the challenge, and then he wants off of the structure because he says Kenny Omega is afraid of heights. But a great opening segment. It did, not that it was like anybody's doing it, just felt odd at the beginning with Ospreay and Omega face to face. You know, it was starting to pick up a little bit when Omega was spilling his guts about why he wasn't going to be there, and then in the end, hey, the enemy of thy enemy is my friend, right? Isn't that the way it goes? So now you have those two combined, now Omega and Kenny Omega together as one. We get Omega and Ospreay. They call him the Alpha and the Omega. But we'll see where it goes from there. Ultimately, anybody that's been watching this knows that that's what it was ultimately leading up to. In Australia is Kyle Fletcher's hometown. I think Ospreay is from over that way as well. So it's going to be a great, great opportunity for everybody involved. And I'm probably going with an easy take here, but I have a feeling that might be match of the night for the AEW Grand Slam card in Australia. This is my early pick. Then they go to a Moxley promo. He talks about Cope's neck is hanging by a string, just like Bryan Danielson's. And the next time he sends him to the doctor, he's going to tell him that you're not returning. And it was interesting because if you watched the show and you watched the main event, it was a little bit of foreshadowing of that match. And we'll go into that here in a little bit. The Hurt Syndicate took on Private Party for the tag team titles. And I am ecstatic with the way that AEW has presented MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley, the Hurt Syndicate. The monsters that they are, what it should have been presented to me over at the other company, but it was not. But kudos to whoever it is that saw this and said, let's make them monsters here. You bring out Private Party. I did notice they didn't do the red rope entrance, so they took that away from Private Party. Private Party had they were transitional champions, right? You had the Young Bucks. Whatever the situation was with them, they needed to take time off, or they wanted time off. You put the titles on Private Party. They had a couple good title defenses at pay-per-views. And now you give it to the team that probably going to have them, I believe, for a while. Watching the way that they have built up Lashley and Shelton, and then watching what they did. Again, this is the AEW Tag Team Champions, Private Party. They didn't get a whole lot in. They got a couple good of their, at the beginning on Shelton. Actually, Bobby Lashley started the power. Then they brought in Shelton. They got a couple of their tag team maneuvers in on him. Then once it got outside the ring, they put Zay through a table. And then from that part on, it was pretty much all Hurt Syndicate. And in the end, it was the spear. And they pinned Zay. And the Hurt Syndicate are your new AEW Tag Team Champions. And I am so happy with the presentation thus far that they have gotten with the Hurt Syndicate in AEW. I have to say, it is probably, in ring-wise, probably one of the better presentations in a while. I'm not talking like, I know when you put Will Ospreay and them in the ring there, but as far as them being presented as monsters, think about since Lashley's come on. Swerve. Now with the tag team championships. You've just watched them hurt people, right? We hurt people. That is exactly the moniker that they are living by. And I liked everything they did on this match. I loved how MVP beforehand, he said, my guys are about to throw a Private Party. And then as he said that, they throw him through the table. And then from then on, it was, It was no, and the Knoxville fans were behind Lashley and Shelton. They were chanting, "We hurt people." They were chanting Bobby. I believe they chanted Shelton at one point. So the Hurt Syndicate was the team that was over, and I'm very happy that, there was no, shenanigans or anything like that. The match pretty much went how I thought it would go when it was announced. And, Private Party had a good run as tag team champions, but they were transitional tag team champions. They were just holding them until another tag team was ready to go. And that tag team is the Hurt Syndicate. I think I called them the Hurt Business, so I apologize for that. Tony Storm's in the back next up, and then Harley Cameron comes in. And these two, man, I mean, they spoke Sheilas and blokes and every Australian term. I guess, they're talking about how great it would be for both of them to be at AEW Grand Slam in Australia. Tony Storm was like, "I'll see you there, Harley Cameron." Harley Cameron said, "Yes, you will see me at AEW Grand Slam." I love what they're doing with Harley Cameron. The two of them have been the most entertaining. Mariah May has also been entertaining, but I feel like she's lost a little bit since she doesn't have the protagonist to go off of the Mariah May. Like, if they would have kept Tony Storm there, I think it would have been awesome to see the more interaction. I understand what they want to do with Tony Storm, and kudos to her for everything she does with that thing, but I believe it hurt Mariah May in the long run because there really hasn't been anybody to keep the whole thing that she was doing there. Freddie Fresco's in. I think AEW got it right on the show, starting with Kenny and Will. They are two of the biggest stars for AEW. Yeah, they did it right. 100%. 100%. And the fact, again, the way I said it, it felt awkward at the beginning where Will was trying to, but I mean, when you look back at the way it played out, it was, probably more likely set up that way. But, Will Ospreay was trying to apologize and said he needed the help of Kenny Omega. So it was coming across a little bit awkward at that point. And then when things heated up, man, I mean, that 17-minute segment flew by. And again, I think this whole Dynamite was very good. And it got to the points that it needed to get to, right? You got to Omega and Ospreay teaming up at AEW Grand Slam in Australia. You've got Tony Storm with Mariah May. That was kind of brought on. They're going to do a face-to-face Saturday on Collision, but they promoted that more with Tony Storm, and Mariah May actually did a segment too later on in the day. They started hinting maybe Harley Cameron, Mercedes Moné, but Mercedes Moné said Harley Cameron hasn't even won on AEW TV, so how is she going to get a match at AEW Grand Slam? So we'll see if anything goes there. But you started seeing a lot of the buildup for AEW Grand Slam Australia. You saw some buildup for Collision. This is getting what I said. They're building up each show on top of each other, and that's where, to me, I feel like they've gotten better, 100% better since Revolution. I mean, it's not just this episode. I'm saying they have continuously gotten better. There's been a couple weeks where, and then also with the Death Riders, still a little. We'll discuss that here in a minute. Jeff Jarrett comes out and he does, his speech. He says he's, they're in Knoxville, Tennessee. He thought of a Tennessee legend, Jerry Lawler, and something Lawler said to him before: "Don't get in the gutter with your opponent." And, he took that to heart and he said, "I'm going after Moxley." He calls out Moxley. Of course, Moxley's not coming out. Claudio comes out, and now we get Claudio versus Double J next week in Huntsville, Alabama. And Double J said after he beats him, he wants a shot at the AEW title. That was not a stipulation when they said the match was going to happen in Huntsville, Alabama next week. But again, Jeff Jarrett will get a match with Claudio Castagnoli. Does it lead to a title match? Not sure what's going to happen there. They did a Megan Bain promo. And I watched her also on GCW this weekend, and it's very interesting. I mean, I don't know if she is all elite yet or what they're doing, but she'll be a great addition to the women's locker room. And she has got a very good moveset. And I watched her this weekend, and very, very interested to see how they go. They brought her in the women's casino battle royal last week. We'll see. It looks like, if they're promoting her at some point, I think there's either a working agreement that will continue with Megan Bain. Swerve, AR Fox, of course, they get their stuff in. A fantastic match. I mean, if Swerve, if you've never been able to watch Swerve and AR Fox go back and look at, I think it's Lucha Underground, and some other things there. They shared it. I shared it on my X. Go to Stanley_media 11, and you can check it out there. But you knew what to expect when these two went in, and you got to see everything about what was going on with Swerve. You got to see Swerve do his moves. He hits the I keep calling it the drive-by, but it's the house call, and then the Swerve stomp. At one point, Ricochet comes out with the scissors, and Nana has a pipe, and then Nana chases Ricochet to the back. Swerve wins the match, and then all of a sudden Ricochet comes on the board, on the big board, and I love the line that Ricochet used. He said, "Nana, you tell Swerve it might be his house, but there's a new landlord, and the rent is due." And they're setting up for their match 2 weeks in Atlanta. Swerve comes out for another promo later on and says, "I'm the most dangerous man. You might not even see me, but I'm definitely looking for you before Atlanta." So, again, it's a good build-up to this match. The only thing that I don't like about what they're doing is it seems like they're setting up so far, they can change this now. But right now, it looks like it's just like a one-on-one match. And like I talked about it last night on the Squared Circle Digest, is if somebody stabs you in the head with scissors, you're not going for a collar and elbow lockup. You're not looking for an arm drag. It should be some kind of street fight or something, if that's where they're going with this. So we'll see where they go. Who should be the Hurt Syndicate next opponents? I'll tell you something here. What I would like to see, they did a promo, I believe it was after Julia Hart's match, and it was Brody King, Buddy Murphy, and Julia Hart kind of showing they're staying united. They had a voice that was leading them, that was deafening, but now it's fell silent, and now there is no leader, there is no voice, there is we all bark as one. That's kind of how they ended it there. I wouldn't mind seeing Buddy Murphy and Brody King take on the Hurt Syndicate. And we'll see where they go. And then also, again, I don't know which way they're going with the whole Death Riders, but I think, look, man, the Hurt Syndicate's just there to hurt people, right? So you could get Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita shots at the title. You could get FTR, of course. There's a couple different, but I would like to see Brody King and Buddy Murphy get a shot, a true shot at some titles. And I think that would be a good matchup with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. I think they would match up good. Just like I think Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher would match up good. So there's a couple different opportunities they could go. And then, hell, if the Ospreay Omega team works, my God, how could you not have them on there? Tony Zag says, thank God they need to pivot MJF from Jarrett. I don't know that they pivoted from that, because MJF comes out There's a guy standing in the ring ready for a match. MJF's music hits. MJF comes out to the ring, tells the guy get out of his ring. The guy gets out of the ring. He cuts the promo on Jeff Jarrett, saying the reason, pro wrestling doesn't love you. The fans don't love you. Of course, the fans start chanting Double J and all this stuff. And then he pretty much says, he kind of just leaves it at that. Like, the reason I wanted to fight you is because I knew you would be the easiest person to beat, is kind of what he says about Double J. Then Hangman Page's music hits, and you find out that guy was standing in the ring because that was Hangman Page's opponent. Then Hangman Page comes in, looks at MJF, says, get out of his ring. MJF, doing his thing, he holds up his hands, goes sideways, gets out of the ring. Hangman comes in, hits a clothesline. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Then he does the angel wings on the opponent. And then Christopher Daniels' music hits. And I was like, Frankie Fresco called it. But Christopher Daniels comes out in a neck brace. He's all beaten down. He says he was told by the officials or by his doctors that, with the neck injury and all of the buckshot lariats and everything, he would not be able to wrestle anymore. And he goes in the thing and he said, I was trying to be a friend to you. I understand now looking at it. I poured gasoline on a fire and then I let my ego get the best of me, but I was really just trying to do what's best for you. Then it turned into where he kind of puts his hand on Hangman and says, you win. You won my last match. And he tapped him on the chest, and then he walks back to the thing. And the look on Hangman Page went from, how he's always been this seething madman lately to the old kind of Hangman look. A little bit of confusion, a little bit of almost like, I wouldn't say baby face-ish, but definitely one of like, what the hell am I doing? Kind of like, what the hell have I been doing in a way? Then he pushes the camera away and they go off. They come back, and of course, it's the Mercedes Moné, Harley Cameron, great voice, man. Tremendous voice. And the fact she did a great rendition of the Monet train. She wants to be on the money train to Grand Slam. And so then, but Mercedes Moné says, no, not happening. Let's see. EA Minutes is in. Tony Zagg's in as well. Hangman MJF would be much better. I agree. I don't know where Hangman's going to fall into all this. I don't know. Again, you're kind of watching his character kind of went up, and then it's not going. It's kind of just there. Is MJF that opponent? I mean, I would like to see that better than MJF Double J. Not going to lie. When I saw Daniels, I turned the TV off. I knew you would. Do you think Double J beats Claudio? Claudio better not lose the Double J. Like, wouldn't it be something, though? What? Look, I know Double J says he doesn't want MJF's help. But if MJF just keeps sticking his nose in and, keeps costing guys matches, and Double J works his way to where he almost wins the title, that sounds like something MJF would do. Just be the scum to go out there and cost Claudio the match. But then the only thing I go to is if he costs Claudio the match and then Moxley has to verse Double J, then wouldn't the Death Riders want to take revenge on MJF? And that's kind of how I think about it. So I don't know if that's the right way, but I don't know, man. I hope, if you did all of this, and it's in Huntsville, Alabama, Jarrett's from, I think, Tennessee. So I don't know. I think somehow you end up, Claudio slips on a banana peel, Jarrett gets the win. Because you're doing all this TV time with Jarrett. It can't just be to lose to Claudio and that's it. I don't know. I don't know. That whole thing kind of has me a little bit perplexed as far as what is the end result, right? Because again, if Jeff Jarrett's end result is to become the heavyweight champion, and that's what they do, then Jeff Jarrett becomes the savior of AEW and gets the belt from Jon Moxley. And I just don't think that is a winning recipe with everything else you got going on with the main event picture. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and again, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, but if I'm AEW, I don't know if I have Jeff Jarrett in that picture. Like, I don't understand where this is ultimately leading. But hey, we'll let it play out because it has been interesting and it is intriguing. Jamie Hayter took on Julia Hart. Good match. Hayter wins it 1-1. So apparently there's going to be a match 3. She said, "You tell me when." And she left the ring and Julia Hart just kind of sat there. And then they went into Hobbs promo. And he told Big Bill, because Big Bill in the Learning Tree called out Hobbs. And I almost feel like there's going to be a Big Bill babyface turn soon. Because Jericho was like, "Big Bill, did you take care of the Hobbs problem? Did you?" And then he kind of like he ended up, getting Big Bill fired up. But does it end up being where every time anything goes wrong, it's Big Bill's fault? And then ultimately Big Bill turns on Jericho and goes babyface. So we'll see where that leads, because I thought it was very interesting, because I think Big Bill could go babyface and get over very easily. With just the way he talks, his promos, all that stuff, it'll be very interesting to see what they do. And hell, the only thing I worry about is Big Bill's, 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", whatever the hell he is. And we see what happens to those size guys under this regime, really, of Tony Khan. It just doesn't seem like he does well with big guys in the singles ranks. Swerve cut his promo. They did the Brody King, Buddy Matthews. Then they did the Cope Pac match, and Pac pretty much worked the whole match on Cope's neck. I'm sorry, I said Edge. I apologize. On Cope's neck. And again, that is the injured neck. And then also, if you go back to the promo at the beginning, it is exactly what Moxley foreshadowed, that the neck is hanging on by a string, just like Bryan Danielson, and they are going to, target the neck. And that's exactly what Pac did. And the one thing that I did like about this match was it kind of reminded me, and again, I think Cope has a lot to say in this. It reminded me of the old days with the Four Horsemen, right? You're always trying to get to Ric Flair, but to get to Ric Flair, you had to go through, at the time it was Barry Windham. It was Arn Anderson. It was Tully Blanchard. Each one, the Horsemen weren't necessarily in there to win the match. They'd lose half the time. But what they were doing was softening you up. So when you got to Flair, you're going in with an injured knee, an injured arm, an injured whatever. And now you're looking at what they're doing in this feud, and it's targeting Cope's neck, the Rated R Superstar's neck. And slowly but surely, you saw it tonight. They show FTR tied up in the back. Rock and Roll Express is down. They concerto Ricky Morton, and then they tell Cope, "Stay right there. We're on our way." And then they go to the ring, and then the beatdown ensues. Jay White hits the ring. He gets a little bit of momentum going. Low blow from Wheeler Yuta. And then Yuta and Claudio are beating up on him. Pac is holding Edge's head up so that Jon Moxley can reach under and cinch in the Bulldog choke. And then they end up, choking him out and leaving him laying. And again, it's eerily similar to the way, if you watch and you remember, a lot of times, and Frankie, you might know where I'm heading with this, is when the Bloodline at the the peak of theirs, every SmackDown ended with what scene? The bloodline standing over everybody with the hands in the air. That was the scene for I think 5 or 6 weeks in a row. And that's what you're seeing here with the Death Riders, except they leave and they go back out through the crowd. But my question is going to be, I don't know where, and again, it's not that they're doing it wrong or right or whatever you want to say on it is, I don't, you look at it and you say, okay, so is Cope, I keep wanting to call it Edge, I apologize. Is Cope the number one contender? Is Jay White trying to become the number one contender? Is he there helping out Edge? Or Cope, I'm sorry. Double J, Jeff Jarrett, he's trying for the heavyweight title. I feel like yesterday we talked a little bit about title relevancy and how the different, companies view the title relevancy. And it almost feels like AEW is going the route where everybody wants it, so that's going to make it relevant. And again, for me, I don't mind that idea, but it gets lost in the fact that you don't see a clear-cut challenger, and there's not, some people might like the fact that there's no lines drawn in the sand. Where does Jay White stand? Was he really coming out to help Cope, or was he more coming out to get himself situated in the picture with Jon Moxley? You know what I'm saying? And it just feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect when it comes to, again, everybody wants the title, so does that make the title relevant when the actual champion doesn't even, and you even had Ospreay tonight mention that Don Callis and the Callis family are standing in his way of going to what he knows he needs to do, which is get the heavyweight title off of Jon Moxley. But he can't do it on his own against the Callis family. So Ospreay now has thrown that out there. And again, everybody wanting the title makes it relevant. The problem I have is there's no clear cut as far as where everybody aligns in this. And it just looks like a cluster to me. So I don't understand where and maybe that's done by that's the way AEW wants it. Maybe that's the way it's booked. And that's fine because, again, as I say, everybody has their ways of watching pro wrestling and what they like and what they don't like. That's the beauty of pro wrestling and the beauty of talking about pro wrestling and the beauty of debating about it. Because no way's right, no way's wrong. You might like one way better, but they might not be doing what you want to do, but it doesn't make it right and wrong. But I would like to have an understanding of what the hell is going on with the Death Riders. Is everybody at the end going to kind of come together? And maybe that's the ultimate goal. But I still haven't figured that portion of this out in the whole thing. Tony Zag said Jay White would be a good choice to be a successor to Moxley. I agree 100%. I think, if you look at the guys they have involved in this whole thing, all of them make sense. All of them would be good successors. But I just don't know that you're doing a lot for your belt when the belt's hidden. The belt's in a case. I mean, the belt didn't even make a debut. I don't even think it came out this week because Marina Shafir, I don't think, was carrying anything. Nobody else was carrying anything. So your heavyweight title still hasn't been on display since Moxley won it from Bryan Danielson. Again, I just don't, I'm intrigued by it, but I can't figure out, and maybe that's the way they want it to be. But I don't know that they know 100% what the end result of this is going to be. They're just kind of playing it by ear to see, how it's going in a way. That's how I feel. You know, it's almost like when they did the whole Rock Cody Roman thing, right? Oh, it's Rock Roman. Oh, wait, we need a turn. Listen to this crowd. Okay, all right, then we make the turn. And maybe that's what they're doing. And again, not right or wrong, but it is difficult to try to figure out exactly what the main event picture is. Right now, I look at it and I say, okay, it's Cope and Moxley. But now today, Jay White instituted himself back into it. You've got Ospreay saying, you know, once he gets rid of the Callis family, he knows the Death Riders and the AEW title needs to come off Moxley. I'm sure Omega's going to say the same thing. You got Jeff Jarrett in this as well. So, again, we'll see where it goes, but it was a very good, almost a great Dynamite tonight. It advanced storylines. It built up to AEW Grand Slam Australia. It built up to some matches for Collision. It built up to a match in 2 weeks in Atlanta. So, again, kudos. Great job by the AEW Dynamite crew tonight. We will be back on Friday night, SmackDown. And then Saturday, we will do a live recap of Saturday night's main events. And we'll probably mix in a little bit of Collision, because Collision should be pretty good this week. So we'll have a Saturday night's main events Collision type recap for you live right here on the Stanley Media House Network and the Squared Circle Digest. I appreciate everybody that spent a little bit of time with me here tonight. If you're on the Facebook page, Stanley Media House Network, please make sure you join in, subscribe, like, share. You're watching on Twitch, X, please like and share. If you're watching on YouTube, appreciate you. Also, make sure you check out the Frankie Fresco YouTube channel and support Frankie Fresco, who hosts with me every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. right here, Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. Thank you all. And in the words of the great Gordon Soley, actually, Tony, thank you for being in tonight. Frankie Fresco, EA Minutes was in, my dad was in, and everybody else that was in with us. Thank you, chat crew. Appreciate you. In the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the sun, shine, state.